All right. Shalom, shalom, family. I'm Brother Eliezer with New Wine Congregation of Israel. Welcome to tonight's Sunday Bible study. And tonight we're going to be talking about righteousness by faith and by the law. So without further ado, we're going to jump right in this thing. We're going to start out in the book of Romans, chapter 10, and verse 1. It says, Brethren, my heart's desire and prayer to God for Israel is that they might be saved. Verse 2. It says, For I bear them record that they have a zeal of God, but not according to knowledge. There are Israelites in this truth that have a zeal for God, but not according to knowledge. Right? Verse 3. It says, For they being ignorant of God's righteousness and going about to establish their own righteousness, have not submitted themselves unto the righteousness of Yahweh. Brothers tend to think they're righteous because how many precepts they can recite. They think just because they don't eat pork, shrimp, crab, and lobster that they righteous. You got Muslims that don't eat shrimp, crab, or lobster. They eat clean and they still think that they're righteous, right? They seek to establish their own righteousness by works without faith. Same thing in this truth. Just because you wear fringes don't make you righteous. It's impossible for you to justify yourself. There's not enough works that you can do to pay that sin debt back. It's impossible. That's why we need the blood of the Messiah. Let's get verse 4. It says, For Christ is the end of the law for righteousness to everyone that believeth, the end of the law of animal sacrifices. Any works you try to do to justify or make yourself righteous outside of faith is in vain and it's pointless, right? We're going to jump to verse 10. It says, For with the heart man believeth unto righteousness, and with the mouth confession is made unto salvation. So let's get some understanding on this thing. Righteousness by faith. Let's get Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 25. Okay. The book of Deuteronomy chapter 6 and verse 25. It says, And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God as he commanded us. One will read this and automatically think works. If I do this, I'll be all right. If I do this, I'll be good, which is true. You're not wrong at all. But what we don't tend to see is that it all starts with faith. Kind of lost my voice. It all starts with faith. To truly do this work requires faith, right? I'm going to read verse 24. It says, And the Lord commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear the Lord our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive as it is this day, right? To fear the Lord our God. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love. Well, what that got to do with faith? Everything, because this where it starts at. We're going to go to Sirach chapter 25 and 12. This where it all starts at. The book of Sirach, chapter 25 and verse 12, it says, The fear of the Lord is the beginning of his love, and faith is the beginning of cleaving unto him. This is where it all starts, right? So let's go back to Deuteronomy 6 and 24. It says, And the Lord commanded us to do all these statutes, to fear the Lord our God for our good always, that he might preserve us alive, because some of us, everybody won't have faith. Some of us won't believe. But if we believe and have faith, this is what's going to happen. Verse 25, And it shall be our righteousness if we observe to do all these commandments before the Lord our God, as he has commanded us. You're going to naturally desire to do the work and to keep the commandments because of your faith, right? Righteousness comes by faith, not by your works alone. Let's go to Romans chapter 9 and verse 31. Okay, the book of Romans chapter 9 and verse 31, it says, But Israel, which follow after the law of righteousness, have not attained to the law of righteousness. Why? Wherefore? Because they sought it not by faith, but as it were by the works of the law. For they stumbled at the stumbling stone. It's not solely what you do that makes you righteous or justified. More so faith and works in the righteous one, in the justifier. Faith in him, the only way to true righteousness, right? Let's go to Romans chapter 3 and verse 20. All right, Romans chapter 3 and verse 20, it says, Therefore, by the deeds of the law, there shall no flesh be justified in his sight. For by the law is the knowledge of sin. You're not justified by the law of animal sacrifice or any deed done outside of faith in Hamashiach, right? You're not justified by your deeds alone. Anything done outside of faith is not beneficial for you. Verse 21, it says, but now the righteousness of God without the law is manifest, being witnessed by the law and by the prophets, without the law of animal sacrifice and being witnessed by the law. Somebody please bring a Christian pastor and let him explain this to me. Which law did the Lord do away with? Because one stands as a witness that righteousness can be obtained without the other one. So which one did he do away with? These Christians or Satanists, they love to say that the Lord's laws are done away with, right? And they need to understand this thing, that the law gonna reign forever. Like me and the brother Nashan brought out yesterday, the law is our heritage and it's gonna be here to stay. How dare you say that my heritage is gone? So when I hear a Christian say, "Oh, the law is gone," you saying my heritage is gone. When you say the law is gone and done away with, you basically saying hail Satan, right? Because that means the law of the Lord is no longer governing the earth. But the law ain't going nowhere, right? It's here to stay forever, and it's our heritage, and we gonna defend it, right? So this is talking about the law of animal sacrifice. I'm gonna read that again. It says, but now the righteousness of God without the law is manifest, being witnessed by the law and by the prophets. Verse 22, even the righteousness of God, which is by faith of Yahushua HaMashiach, unto all and upon all them that believe, for there is no difference. Animal sacrifices and any works outside of faith in Hamashiach cannot and will not make you righteous. Let's get Job 15 and 14, because we all dirty, we all unclean. So our own righteousness, it won't sustain. The book of Job, chapter 15 and verse 14, it says, what is man that he should be clean? And he which is born of a woman, that he should be righteous. We are all unclean. Let's get Isaiah 64 and 6. Our righteousness won't suffice. Isaiah chapter 64 and verse 6, it says, but we are all as an unclean thing, and all our righteousness are as filthy rags, and we all do fade as a leaf, and our iniquities like the wind have taken us away. Right? We're going to go back to Romans 23 now. So we all unclean. We can't seek to establish our own righteousness. Who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? Not one. So it's impossible for us to, by ourselves, produce fruits of righteousness outside of faith in Hamashiach. Right? Verse 23, it says, for all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. We all in a debt that we can't pay back. You can't work that debt off. We need the blood of the Messiah. Verse 24, it says, being justified freely by his grace through the redemption that is in Hamashiach Yahushua. So through faith in Hamashiach Yahushua, we justified freely, right? Verse 25, it said, whom God has set forth to be a propitiation through faith in his blood to declare his righteousness for the remission of sins that are past through the forbearance of Yahweh. Faith in his blood, faith in the justifier makes you justified, not your works alone. Read verse 26. It says, to declare, I say, at this time, his righteousness, that he might be just, and the justifier of him which believeth in Yahushua. Salaki, y'all got to bear with my voice. We was out kind of late last night. I kind of lost my voice. But I'm going to read verse 25 again. 25 again. It says, whom God has set forth to be a propitiation through faith in his blood, to declare his righteousness for the remission of sins that are past through the forbearance of Yahweh. To declare, I say, at this time, his righteousness, right? That he might be just, and the justifier of him which believe, right? We got to have faith in order to be justified, right? Let's jump down to 28. Therefore, we conclude that a man is justified by faith without the deeds of the law, without the deeds of the law of animal sacrifice, and any deeds done outside of faith. You're not justified. You're justified by faith, right? Let's jump down to 31. Do we then make void the law through faith? God forbid. We establish the law. Does that mean we do not do the works? God forbid. We establish the law. I keep his law because I love him. It's simple as that. When you love him, it's going to come natural. When you love him, you're going to want to seek to do his commandments. And that's how we establish the law, through faith. Something in you is going to want to keep the commandments and do the things that are pleasing to the Lord because of your faith. Let's go to Galatians chapter 3 and verse 21. Galatians chapter 3 and verse 21. It said, is the law then against the promises of God? God forbid. For if there had been a law given which could have given life, verily righteousness should have been by the law. If the law of animal sacrifice would have sufficed, then we wouldn't need a Messiah. Or if our mangy, dingy works would even move the Lord, we wouldn't need a Messiah. Right? Verse 2. It says, but the scripture has concluded all under sin, like we just read, that the promise by faith of Yahweh Shai HaMashiach might be given to them that believe. So you got to have faith. It all starts with faith. It'll be impossible for you to do this work without faith. Let's keep reading. Verse 23, but before faith came, we were kept under the law, shut up unto the faith which should afterwards be revealed. Wherefore the law was our schoolmaster to bring us unto Christ, that we might be justified by faith, right? But after faith that is come, we are no longer under a schoolmaster. For ye are all the children of Yahweh by faith in Hamashiach, in Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, right? Let's jump down to 29. And if ye be Christ, then ye are Abraham's seed according to the promise. Because Abraham, we the children of faith, right? Abraham's seed. Let's go to Romans chapter 4 and verse 2. For if Abraham were justified by works, he had whereof to glory, but not before God. So if Abraham was justified by his works, he can glory, but not before the Lord, because you can't give glory to the Lord to a work that he didn't justify, right? The Lord's not going to justify your own righteousness. He wants his righteousness. He don't desire our righteousness. We read earlier that all of our righteousness is as filthy rags before the Lord. So if Abraham was justified by his works, then he couldn't glory before the Lord. So it takes, let's just keep going, slacky. Verse 3, it said, for what saith the scripture? Abraham believed God, and it was counted to him for righteousness. Now to him that worketh is not the reward not reckoned of grace, but of debt. Like I said, you can't work to receive righteousness. It's a debt that you can't pay back. Just understand what grace is, and it'll make everything a whole lot easier for you. Verse 5, it says, but to him that worketh not, but believeth on him that justified the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness. Understanding this makes it a whole lot easier on you. You already justified and righteous by faith. When you know that, you're naturally going to just fall in line with the commandments. You won't practice sin. Let's go to 1 John chapter 3 and verse 6. 1 John chapter 3 and verse 6. It says, whosoever abideth in him sinneth not. And whosoever sinneth hath not seen him, neither known him. That doesn't mean that you're not subject to sin. That just simply means that you won't practice sin, because we all subject to sin and to fall, right? But if we truly abide in him, sin is not going to be a thing that we practice. We won't get comfortable with doing sin, with committing sin and trespasses, right? Because we fear the judgment to come. Whosoever abideth in him sinneth not. Whosoever sinneth hath not seen him, neither known him. Little children, let no man deceive you. He that doeth righteousness is righteous, even as he is righteous. He that committeth sin is of the devil, for the devil sinneth from the beginning. For this purpose the Son of God was manifest, that he might destroy the works of the devil. Whosoever is born of Yahweh does not commit sin, for his seed remaineth in him, and he cannot sin, because he is born of God. You won't just sin willfully and be comfortable and happy doing it. It's impossible if if the Lord's seed is in you. If you got the Ruach, it'll be impossible for you to practice sin and enjoy doing it, right? I'm going to read that again. Whosoever is born of God does not commit sin, for his seed remaineth in him, and he cannot sin, because he is born of God. In this the children of God are manifest, and the children of the devil. Whosoever doeth not righteousness is not of God, neither he that loveth not his brother. If you don't practice to be perfect in righteousness, forget about it. Your daddy is the devil, right? Let's go to Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 38. Hebrews chapter 10 and verse 38, it says, Now the just shall live by faith, but if any man draw back, my soul shall have no pleasure in him. The justified gonna live by faith. But if you praise the wicked, the Lord gonna despise you. He gonna kill you. The Lord don't take no pleasure in those that turn away their ear from hearing the law and turn back. Let's read verse 39. It says, But we are not of them who draw back unto perdition, but of them that believe to the saving of the soul, right? My family of the faith know when you justified, you're going to live like it. And drawing back is not even an option. In fact, that's insulting to the Lord. Daily you practicing faith by keeping the law to the best of your ability. And that's power, right? Not quoting 200 precepts. Let me show you power. Faith and power is synonymous. It go hand in hand. Wherever you see faith, you're going to see power. Because we still dealing with faith. Watch this. Romans chapter 1 and verse 16. It says, For I am not ashamed of the gospel of Hamashiach, for it is the power of God unto salvation to everyone that believeth, to the Jew first and also to the Greek, right? This is the power of Yahweh. I'm talking about your faith and your faith in this gospel. Verse 17, For therein is the righteousness of God revealed, from faith to faith, as it is written, the just shall live by faith. When you start to do this naturally, that's power. Like I said, not quoting 600 precepts, right? When you naturally start to keep the commandments through faith, that's power. Let's get 1 Corinthians chapter 2, verse 4. 1 Corinthians chapter 2 and verse 4. It says, And my speech and my preaching was not with enticing words of man's wisdom, but in demonstration of the Spirit and of power, that your faith should not stand in the wisdom of men, but in the power of God. Faith equals power. Wherever you see faith, you're going to see power. They're synonymous. It's one and the same. Let's get Acts chapter 6 and verse 8. All right, and Stephen, full of faith and power, did wonders and miracles among the people, right? Faith equals power. This brother was doing many mighty works through faith, right? And he was doing many works through faith, and by him doing it through faith, power followed, and through faith we are kept by the power of Yahweh. Let's get 1 Peter chapter 1. Wherever you see faith, you're gonna see power. 1 Peter chapter 1 and verse 8. It says, whom having not seen ye love, and whom though ye see him not, yet believing, ye rejoice with joy unspeakable and full of glory. None of us seen the Lord, but we trust him. We rejoice with joy unspeakable, right? Verse 5. Let's jump up to verse 5. Who are kept by the power of God through faith unto salvation, ready to be revealed in the last time, right? So we kept by faith. We kept by the power of God through faith. Faith equals power. Let's get another one. Let's get 2 Thessalonians 1 and 11. It's vital to have this faith. Without faith, you ain't got no power. Wherefore also we pray always for you, that our God will count you worthy of this calling, and fulfill all the good pleasure of his goodness, and the work of faith with power, right? Where else you gonna get this but from the Lord? Faith comes from the Lord, who has all power, and he gave every man his measure of faith. He gave every man his measure of power. Let's get that in Romans 12 and 3. The book of Romans chapter 12 and verse 3. It say, For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as Yahweh had dealt to every man the measure of faith. He dealt to every man his measure of power. So it's impossible. You shouldn't think highly of yourself because it's the Lord that gave you the faith. It's the Lord that gave you this power, right? Faith is power and it's demanded, right? It's required. It's impossible for you to do anything for the Lord without faith. Let's go to Hebrews 11:6. So when you don't have faith, you limiting the power of the Lord. Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 6. And you'll never be able to live right. You got to have faith. The book of Hebrews chapter 11 and verse 6. It says, but without faith it is impossible to please him. For he that cometh to God must believe that he is, and that he is a rewarder of them that diligently seek him. Right? By faith, Noah being warned of God of things not seen as yet, moved with fear, prepared an ark to the saving of his house, by the which he condemned the world and became heir of righteousness, which is by faith. You need faith in the Messiah and in the Father. Without it, you can forget about it, right? Which this verse right here bring me to the flip side of this coin, right? The same way you can't get righteousness by works alone, you need faith. Neither can you get righteousness or be justified by faith alone. Works must follow. Just because you believe in Hamashiach doesn't make you righteous or gonna save you. Let's get that in James chapter 2. Just believing does nothing beneficial for you. The book of James chapter 2 and verse 14, it says, what doth it profit, my brethren? Though a man say he has faith and have not works, can faith save him? La. If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food, and one of you say unto them, depart in peace, and be warm and filled, notwithstanding ye give them not those things which are needful to the body, what does it profit? What are those words going to do to that person? Their belly's still empty, right? Those words does nothing beneficial to their hunger. The same thing with faith, right? Verse 17, even so faith, if it have not works, is dead, being alone. Just because, I put it like this. Because we love him and believe him, we do the required works, right? Because we love him, we keep his commandments. It's simple as that, right? Verse 18, it says, yea, a man may say, thou hast faith, and I have works. Show me thy faith without thy works, and I will show thee my faith by my works, right? Thou believest that there is one God, thou doest well. The devils also believe and tremble. Even Edomite Christians believe that is one power, that is one God, but they ain't got no works to follow that. All right, verse 20. But wilt thou know, O vain man, that faith without works is dead? If you truly wholeheartedly believe that this is real, you're going to desire to do the work, right? Just knowing or believing, that, like I say, that does nothing beneficial as far as salvation, right? We don't want to be empty-minded in this thing. We can't just say, oh, I believe in the Lord, throw on some fringes and think that's it. No, you got to do the work, right? Verse 22, it says, see then, Salakia. We're going to start at verse 21. Was not Abraham our father justified by works when he had offered Isaac upon the altar? See then how faith wrought with his works, and by works faith was made perfect. So your faith is made perfect through what you do, all right? See thou how faith wrought with his works, and by works was faith made perfect. When you truly have faith and fellowship with the Lord, it comes natural. You develop a desire to do all the Lord commanded in the law and do the work. You're going to want to do it, right? Let's go to 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 5. This is what we called to do. Have faith in him and do the works. The book of 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 5, it says, but watch thou in all things, endure afflictions, do the work of an evangelist, make full proof of thy ministry. We got to do the work. Whatever your lot may be that you good at, do it for the Lord and perfect that thing and expect the reward for it, right? Labor like you expecting the reward from the Lord. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 6 and verse 10. The book of Hebrews chapter 6 and verse 10, it says, for God is not unrighteous to forget your work and labor of love, which ye have showed toward his name, and that ye have ministered to the saints, and do minister. That means expect a reward for your hard work and your labor. Let's get a precept to prove that. 2nd Ezra chapter 7 and verse 34. Expect a reward. When you labor like you expect a reward, you're going to do it with joy. 2nd Ezra chapter 7 and verse 34. It says, but judgment only shall remain. Truth shall stand, and faith shall wax strong. Verse 35, it says, and the work shall follow, and the reward shall be showed, and the good deeds shall be of force, and wicked deeds shall bear no rule. Wickedness will one day be no more. And if you daily practice to resist wickedness, those works gonna follow you into the kingdom, and the Lord gonna reward you for that thing. So labor like you expect the reward. Let's go over a chapter and go to verse 33. 2nd Ezra chapter 8 and verse 33. For the just, which have had many good works laid up with thee, shall out of their own deeds receive reward. Labor like you expect the reward. Let's get one more. Let's get Colossians. The book of Colossians chapter 3 and verse 23. It says, and whatsoever ye do, do it heartily as to the Lord and not unto men. Why? Because the Lord is going to reward us. Watch this. Knowing that of the Lord ye shall receive the reward of the inheritance, for ye serve the Lord Hamashiach. Hey, we got to understand that thing right there, because the moment that you realize what you do, you doing it for the Lord, you're going to do it with joy, right? You're going to do it with heart and with wholeheartedly and expect the reward. Our work is not in vain. That's the reason we can go out like last night at 12 at midnight and prophesy to the wind, right? Because we know that our labor and work is not in vain. We expect the reward for that thing. So let's go back to Hebrews chapter 6 and verse 10. Okay, the book of Hebrews chapter 6 and verse 10. It says, for God is not unrighteous to forget your work and labor of love, which ye have showed towards his name, and that ye have ministered to the saints, and do minister. And we desire that every one of you do show the same diligence to the full assurance of hope unto the end. Labor like you expect the reward, right? Verse 12, it says that ye be not slothful, but followers of them who through faith and patience inherit the promise, right? I heard a brother say that I'm not always motivated, but I'm disciplined, right? This ain't light work. This not easy work. It's not always easy, but we got to do it. And this our lot, and it's worth it, right? So we can't be slothful in this thing, man. We may not always be motivated, but we stay disciplined. Let's go to James chapter 1 and verse 25. James chapter 1 and verse 25. It says, but whoso looketh into the perfect law of liberty and continue therein, being not a forgetful hearer, but a doer of the work, this man shall be blessed in his deed, right? You got to be a doer of the work, right? You got to continue in these things. Show that pattern of good works. Let's read verse 22. It says, but be ye doers of the word, and not hearers only, deceiving your own self. You ain't deceiving nobody but yourself, right? You come to classes or you listen to classes, right? You listen to all kind of breakdowns, but not applying nothing. That's not beneficial to you, and you only deceiving yourself. Let's go to Titus chapter 2 and verse 6. It says, young men, likewise, exhort to be sober-minded, in all things showing thyself a pattern of good works. You got to continue in this thing. And doctrine, showing uncorruptness, gravity, and sincerity. One definition of pattern is a repeated design. A pattern is something repeated. That means daily you practice the good works. You continuing in those good works daily, right? This is ordained for us to walk in. Watch this. I'm going to go to Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 10. Talk about get it. Ephesians chapter 2 and verse 10. It says, for we are his workmanship, created in Hamashiach Yahushua unto good works, which Yahweh had before ordained that we should walk in them. This law is our heritage. We're going to walk in it forever. This is the good works that we should walk in, that the Most High talking about. The law, the covenant, right? These are the works, the good works that we should walk in and do. The covenant. Let's prove that. Let's go to Exodus 18 and 20. These are the good works the Lord talking about. The book of Exodus chapter 18 and verse 20. It say, and thou shalt teach them ordinances and laws, and show them the way wherein they must walk, and the work they must do. The way to walk and the work to do is the law, right? Which brings us right back full circle to the point, right? You got to do the work. You can't just say that you believe and not doing the work, right? So the Lord said that it's our job to show our people the work that they must do, right? You got to show yourself a pattern of good works. I'm going to read that again. And thou shalt teach them ordinances and laws, and show them the way wherein they must walk and the work that they must do, right? Show that pattern of good works by faith and expect the reward for that thing. Let's get Revelation 14 and 13. I keep saying expect the reward because when you understand this, you're going to do it happily. You're going to serve the Lord with joy, knowing that you're going to get a reward for your deed. We're not just serving the Lord like he's a tyrant or something. We serve the Lord because we love him. Revelation chapter 14 and verse 13. It says, and I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, write, blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth. Yea, says the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their work do follow them. My Octo Obadiah told me a while back. I had called you on break one day, bro. This was some months ago when I was working at Alpha Protect. I called you and was complaining about me being tired, and you was like, the Lord gonna give us rest one day. And I believe that, you know what I'm saying? To this day, I look forward to that thing, man. We labor to rest, if you know what I mean, right? But like I said, when you said that, I believe that thing, right? So we look forward to a day of rest, right? We labor to enter into that rest. Let's get Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 8. Okay, the book of Hebrews chapter 4 and verse 8. It says, for if Yahushua had given them rest, then he would not afterward have spoken of another day. There remaineth therefore a rest to the people of Yahweh. For he that is entered into his rest hath also ceased from his work as God did from his, right? So we labor to enter into his rest, right? Because we got faith, but it's all in due time. Let's go to 2nd Esdras chapter 10 and verse 24. Second Esdras chapter 10 and verse 24, it says, and therefore shake off thy great heaviness, and put away the multitude of sorrows, that the mighty may be merciful unto thee again, and the highest shall give thee rest and ease from all thy labor, right? The work we do not in vain. Rest and the reward is something that we look forward to, right? And this all in faith. Until then, we doing the work. We're working on ourselves. We're working on our kids. We're working on our people. Whatever we able to do, Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, we doing it and expecting the reward, right? I want to show y'all something about expecting from the Lord and having that bold faith, because this ain't nothing about being proud. Let me show y'all about having this bold faith and expecting from the Lord. Watch this. Let's get Psalms chapter 62 and verse 5. It says, my soul wait thou only upon God, for my expectation is from him. The only person I expect anything from is the Lord, because he alone is righteous and he can't lie. So my expectation is from him, and it belongs to him alone, because like I said, I expect it from the Lord because he can't lie. He's not going to say that he's going to do something and don't do it. So my expectation is from him, and it belongs to him alone. That's first. Now let's get Proverbs chapter 24 and verse 13. It says, my son, eat thou honey, because it is good, and the honeycomb, which is sweet to thy taste. We got to get in this word and get the understanding, right? So shall knowledge of wisdom be unto thy soul when thou hast found it. Then there shall be a reward, and thy expectation shall not be cut off. I get wisdom and expect her riches. I labor and work and expect the reward, chiefly to live forever in the kingdom. Right? Let's go to Jeremiah 29 and 11. You gotta labor and expect the reward. Jeremiah 29 and 11. It says, "For I know the thoughts that I think towards you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end." It's expected, right? At least my faith expect to get that expected peaceful end or rest, right? We got to have that bold faith. And like I said, this not being puffed up or proud. Let's prove that. It ain't no law against this. Having expectations in the Lord and bold faith. Ain't no law against that. Philippians chapter 1 and verse 20. I got high expectations in the Lord. The book of Philippians chapter 1, it says, according to my earnest expectation and my hope, that in nothing I shall be ashamed, but that with all boldness, as always, so now also Hamashiach shall be magnified in my body, whether it be by life or death, right? Paul doing the works, making his body a living sacrifice, looking for that expected end. Verse 21, it says, For to me to live is Hamashiach, and to die is gain. While I'm alive, I'm doing the labor, I'm working. But if I take my rest and I die serving the Lord, I have an expected end. I can die peacefully. Paul knew that. Let's get 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 6. Paul was looking for that expected end. He put the work in and expected that end. He expected that rest. 2 Timothy chapter 4 and verse 6. Right? It says, For I am now ready to be offered, and the time of my departure is at hand. Paul had got up in age, right? He was almost ready to check up out of this thing. He said, verse 7, I have fought a good fight. I have finished my course. I have kept the faith. It started with faith, and you got to end this thing strong with faith. You got to keep the faith, right? Because Satan's whole plan, his whole agenda is to rob you of your faith, right? No faith, no power. I have fought a good fight and have finished my course. I have kept the faith. Henceforth, there is laid up for me a crown of righteousness, which the Lord, the righteous judge, shall give me at that day, and not to me only, but to all them also that love his appearing, right? So Paul was looking forward to that thing, man. It's not off to have an expected end or to labor and expect the reward. Let's go back to Philippians chapter 1 and verse 21. Philippians chapter 1 and verse 21. And it reads, For to me to live is Christ, and to die is gain. But if I live in the flesh, this is the fruit of my labor. Yet what I shall choose, I want not. For I am in a strait betwixt two, having a desire to depart and to be with Christ, which is far better. I'd rather go take my rest, right? Nevertheless, to abide in the flesh is more needful for you. So he denied himself, right? He want to be strong for the brethren, for the body. Verse 25, it says, this the part I wanted, and having this confidence, right? What confidence? That I got an expected end. I want to leave, but I know what awaits me. I kept the faith. I fought a good fight. I'm about to check out of this thing. I know what awaits me. So having this confidence, I know that I shall abide and continue with you all for your furtherance and your joy of faith, right? So Paul was looking forward to that expected end, and we got to have that same mind. Let's go to Proverbs chapter 23. You will love laboring for the Lord if you understand this. The book of Proverbs chapter 23 and verse 18, it says, For surely there is an end, and thine expectation shall not be cut off. Everybody's going to die, right? But our expectation won't be cut off. If we live in by faith and keeping these commandments, we expect to get the kingdom. And the Lord said our expectation will not be cut off, right? We expect it because the Lord said it. So if he say ask for something or do something and I'll do this or that, I expect it because he don't lie, right? This give me that bold faith. Let's go to Ephesians chapter 3 and verse 12. All right. The book of Ephesians chapter 3 and verse 12. In whom we have boldness and access with confidence by faith of him. This kind of faith activates something different, right? You start to tap into some real power, which is ultimately living right, and causing others around you to live right, or question why you like that, why you so different, because of the works that you're producing, right? The deeds that you're doing through faith. And all of a sudden, that faith that can't be seen is on full display. Everybody watching you, all eyes on you, because it's something different about you, right? The works you do, the deeds, right? Brothers, never limit your works to just going to camp and making videos. That's powerful, but making wise decisions is putting in work, right? Holding your tongue is putting in work. Forgiving is putting in work. Praying for your brothers is putting in work. Resisting sin is putting in work, right? And by this logic, I can show you my faith by my works, right? But if I say I believe and my works look exactly the same like the world, right? And if my works look like somebody that's unrepentant and I can blend right in, nothing about me stands out, that makes me a liar, right? How can I say I got faith in the Lord and do nothing that he commanded, right? You don't keep the commandments with joy and gladness. You never lift up anybody's spirit. You just got on fringes and say that you're a believer. What good or how is that beneficial to anybody, right? You just saying that you believe with no works. You a liar, according to the Bible. The book of Luke, chapter 6 and verse 46. You're not fooling nobody. Like the word said, be a doer of the word and not a hearer, only deceiving yourself. It says, and why call ye me Lord, Lord, and do not the things that I say? Right, the Lord is not going to hear you. Why are you calling me Lord, Lord, and you don't do none of the things that I say? Like I say, if you don't practice a pattern of good works and righteousness, your father is the devil. You can't be calling on the Lord, Lord, and expect him to answer your prayer or to move for you, and you're not doing nothing that he says. 1 John chapter 2 and verse 4. So that faith got to be accompanied by works. 1 John chapter 2 and verse 4. He that saith, I know him, and keepeth not his commandment is a liar, and the truth is not in him. But whosoever keepeth his word, in him is the love of God perfected. And hereby we know that we are in him, perfected by faith, right? Followed by a pattern of good works. And that found is righteousness by faith and by the law, right? Most High willing this seed fell on good ground. So family, just keep that in mind. You got to have faith followed by works. And you can't just have works without faith, right? So let's get that understood, Israel. You can't just throw on fringes and say that you believe in the Lord, right? You got to do the whole work. You got to practice being righteous daily. But with that, I yield, fam. Shalom. Love y'all. Y'all stay safe out there.